Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here for our update today on our cyber crisis. I am joined by our Chief Operating Officer, Richard Cox, also members of our senior team and members of the Atlanta City Council. I want to make sure I don't forget anyone. I see Howard Shook, Councilman Mazakite, Councilman Dickens, Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Westmoreland, Councilmember Hillis, President Moore. Did I miss anyone? All right, thank you. First and foremost, I want to share today that the City of Atlanta continues to operate, and that is indeed the beauty of government. No matter if we are facing challenges, we are a resilient city and we are a resilient government. And I think it was so appropriate that my morning began at Park Pride, announcing a multi-million-dollar grant that the City of Atlanta has received in conjunction with the Rockefeller Foundation, who has deemed us one of 100 resilient cities in America. And this truly is a test and a testament to who we are as a city. When we became aware of this cyber incident last week, we immediately assigned an incident response team that has been working literally around the clock. And quite frankly, one of the biggest challenges to our team has been to please do not burn yourselves out. As I said last week, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We have had a cross-functional team that includes both the public and private sector, including not just the City of Atlanta and our senior team, but also law enforcement, our federal partners from the FBI, Homeland Security, the Secret Service, independent forensic experts, and even our partners in higher education, including Georgia Tech, who are lending a hand to help us assess what has happened and how we can best protect our city going forward. I've asked that two people join me here today in a series of media briefings that we will have this week to give us an update on the city's overall operational response, as well as what our independent forensics team, SecureWorks, who's been engaged to support the City of Atlanta in our response, so they can give you additional information. SecureWorks is a globally recognized leader in cybersecurity. Their CEO, Mike Coate, is here with us today. Mr. Coate will share what his team has been asked to do and also outline the process that his team has been working on in conjunction with our senior team to give an assessment and also guidance on next steps. So with that.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mayor Bottoms. The City of Atlanta is home to SecureWorks, and we are committed to helping the mayor's team with the city's continued success. We have significant experience with this type of threat activity. I have directed the surge of SecureWorks' various subject matter experts to work closely with the city's task force to get mission-critical systems back online as prudently and expeditiously as possible, and ensure that the appropriate security processes and defenses are in place going forward. We have completed the investigation and containment phases of this incident response engagement based on our assessment of the threat, risks, and impacts. We are transitioning to the recovery phase to include the methodical restoration of critical systems.
Thank you, Mike, Mayor Bottoms. As I mentioned last week, I want to start with this. I want to thank the team that has worked tirelessly since we identified this situation. And in fact, since we have identified the situation, we've taken a number of steps. We already spoke about immediately engaging our federal partners. So they've been with us every step of the way. I want to thank Mike and SecureWorks. They've been doing an incredible job, again, working around the clock. We also immediately broke off into two work streams. We've been talking about the technology work stream. We've also broken out into a manual operations piece. So we have teams that are going to every single department, and we're mapping out the manual processes so that we position ourselves to take care of the city and keep it running if this is to go into the future. In addition to that, we have worked with our IT teams to create work shifts that really optimizes the resource allocation. Mayor Bottoms talked about the importance of looking at this as a marathon. We're doing that based on the shifts that we've created. We also have regular update sessions to make sure that we have communication flowing across the entire city of Atlanta. There's a delicate balance of communicating and getting the work done, and we're trying to do everything we can to have that balance in place. Finally, we've executed program management over key work streams really at a detailed level across the entire city of Atlanta. With that being said, the public is really interested in the services that we have available and those that we don't at this time. So at this point, I'm going to read a detailed list of what you can expect in the short term. So as mentioned previously, our critical network infrastructure services such as Department of Public Safety, including police, fire rescue, and 911, as well as water services operations and the airport, continue to operate without interruption. The following services are supported in person via representatives to support. The Department of Watershed Management, these services are available in the Customer Service Center. New water service request, site development services, reviews, hydrant meter renewals, hydrant meter returns. The Department of City Planning, Office of Buildings. All work streams remain open, however, processing times may run longer than normal. Pay is still available through a seller by using the online process. Status of plans is available using laptop and hotspots. Consultations for plans and reviews and technical questions will still take place. Correction letters will be written during this time. Manual process has been activated for inspections and scheduling. And customers may schedule inspections by calling the inspections line at 404-865-8400. Again, 404-865-8400. Office of Zoning and Development. All application processes will remain open to the public. However, times may be longer than normal. Consultations information for the public is available but limited in scope. Analysis and review of applications are limited. The Office of Housing and Community Development. The office is currently unavailable to process disbursement requests. During this time, the office will communicate to customers via in-person conversations at the desk. Municipal Court. In-custody calendar. Defendants who have been arrested and taken into custody by the Department of Corrections will be conducted using manual tickets in compliance with Georgia law. Reset forms and change of address forms can be completed in person at the court during normal business hours. Parking tickets can be paid at the court. Additional municipal court information. Customers who were set for court will not be penalized during this time. If customers are unsure about the status of their license, they should check the Department of Driver Services. No failure to appear for cases that were set during this time will be generated, and all cases will be automatically reset. These services are not currently available online or in person. The Department of Watershed Management, online bill payments, in-person bill payments, high bill account adjustments, new meter sales, resolution of payment issues, installation, payment plans, hydrant meter rentals. Municipal Court. The court will not be conducting walk-in failure to appear court until systems are fully restored. As mentioned before, the City of Atlanta is committed to making sure that employees, partner agencies, and the public are kept informed and have the information they need. We are updating all this information on our website, so I would encourage you and the public to refer to the website during this time. Mayor Bottoms.
I just want to make the point that this is much bigger than a ransomware attack. This really is an attack on our government, which means it's an attack on all of us. And we just want to continue to be thoughtful, and will continue to be thoughtful, to make sure that as a city that we are doing all that we need to do to make sure that we are secure going forward. We know that anytime you're dealing with cyber issues, that it's fluid, because each day there are thousands of people who wake up intent to do harm on systems throughout the world. And as I've said repeatedly, we certainly are not the first to experience this, and likely will not be the last. But I continue to assure you that we are doing all that we can do as a city to make sure that we are as strong as we need to be going forward. And the analogy that I've given is thinking back on Mayor Franklin's administration and the heavy lift that she had to take on as it relates to water infrastructure. Well, this is our digital infrastructure. And as elected officials, it's often quite easy for us to focus on the things that people see, because at the end of the day, our residents are our customers. But we have to really make sure that we continue to focus on the things that people can't see, and digital infrastructure is very important. Certainly not something on even day 70 that I thought would become a priority of this administration, but as day 80-something, it certainly has gone to the front of the line. So we will continue to have those conversations, especially as we deal with this year's budget. And with that, we will open up for any questions
Mayor,
that you may have.
have you been given an estimate from the Secure Works executive, an estimate of a time when, say, 90 to 100% of the operations will be back up?
Can you speak to that? I know everyone's being very, very cautious because we want to manage expectations. So what I will say is this: it's we are dealing with a hostage situation. So just as we wouldn't give away too much information if there were a physical hostage, we do have to be careful as we speak about timelines. But I can tell you that we are working around the clock and just continue to ask the public to be patient.
And when he used the term restoration, are we talking about rebuild when you use the term restoration? That's the next phase.
I think everything is on the table. I think more clearly what we see is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done with our digital infrastructure in the city of Atlanta. And I mean, we know that year after year that it's something that we have to focus on, and certainly this has sped things up. And again, I know you all are sick of hearing my analogies, but I gave the example last week of a truck. My 2006 truck that was running fine. It cranked up every day when I got in it, and I didn't intend to replace it until it was in a wreck, and I didn't have a choice. And so we'll see where we are, but we certainly have everything on the table as it relates to what we need to do with our systems. Do we have that information?
We, as I mentioned in the prepared remarks, we're very familiar with attacks of this nature, and we've worked with threat actors like this, but we don't think it's prudent in an ongoing investigation to talk about it at this point in time. Yes. Yes.
Mayor, we heard Mike say that the investigation is now complete. Do we know how they got in?
Excuse me. The investigation is not complete. We started the early phases of the investigation. We still have a lot of work to do, and we're beginning to move into the recovery phase. So there's multiple phases when you do an incident response investigation. So as the mayor has said a little bit to the earlier question, this is a marathon. We've done a lot of work cooperatively across the last 3 or 4 days, and I think we're making a lot of progress.
But are the hackers totally out of the system? Vulnerability was exploited, and has that vulnerability?
I think the answer to that is that we certainly are looking at the entire system. So we have some thoughts as to what our vulnerabilities are, but really right now our focus is on what we need to do to move forward and making sure that we are fortified in moving forward. Because again, this is not just about a fix for today. This is about a fix for our infrastructure going forward.
Are the hackers totally out of the system?
Can you answer that?
We are, when you say are the hackers out of the system, that's a difficult question to answer from the perspective of we've got a ransomware situation here where they have effectively said that they can unlock the system. So they're clearly here at this point in time. Is the system internet accessible? The answer is no.
How much data was stolen and backed up somewhere else? Or the data was encrypted?
I'll let you take control. And I'll explain.
We have backup systems in the city of Atlanta, and again, we are continuing to assess as to how we need to move forward. So we certainly do have some backup systems. We don't know. And my understanding is that we are still looking at the extent of any vulnerability of not just our primary systems, but our backup systems as well. But once we are on the other side of this, we will know exactly what information has been compromised. But I do want to stress, as of now, we don't have anything that points to anyone's personal information having been compromised. But again, I just remind the public to continue to be vigilant, but there's nothing that we have come across that says that personal data has been compromised.
There's a point where even cyber experts say that part of the calculus has to be considering maybe just paying the bad actors off. Are we approaching that in any form?
Everything is up for discussion. And again, I shared that I have my personal feelings about that. But while we are operating still in the infancy of this, if you will, we're not even a full week in. I want to make sure that everything continues to be on the table for our consideration.
Given some of the measures that the other departments are having to face with police having to write up reports by hand and some of the challenges they have with reports in the watershed, how long is that model sustainable? How long can continue to ask folks to keep doing that before things back off?
Well, it was a sustainable model until we got computer systems. So it worked for many years, and for some of our younger employees, it will be a nice exercise in good penmanship.
Mayor, there are two different security contractors that the City Council voted to approve their services within 2016-2017. Were those third-party security systems operating from the city, and were they responsible for keeping the system secure?
Again, we have called in just about everyone who has touched our system. So if there are security contracts that are in place, and we have certainly reached out to those partners and making sure that, I believe our IT department has been full of guests, really at capacity throughout the weekend, making sure that everyone is given their proper assessment and their feedback so that we will know exactly what we're dealing with and what we need to do moving forward. And I know that there will be plenty of time for us to dissect this on the other end, but right now this really is about making sure that the City of Atlanta continues to function to the best of our ability. And we'll say for another day what happened and why.
Can you talk a little bit about the possible motives of the attack? It seems like to attack a company might be more private. Why would someone attack a government?
City of Atlanta. What about other cities in America? Are we vulnerable as a country? Why is this here?
Certainly, it's an issue of national security. We've had this conversation on the national level as it relates to personal information, as it relates to data breaches that have impacted companies and even some of our federal agencies and cities. So I think that it's very clear, even as we've had this conversation about our national election and what vulnerabilities existed there and what influence was brought in by actors from outside of this country. It's a national discussion. And again, I think it really speaks to just as much as we focus on our physical infrastructure, we need to focus on the security of our digital infrastructure. And yeah, as a major city, obviously in Atlanta, this is new territory for us, but we are a resilient city. And we will get on the other side of this, and we will prevail on the other side of this. And I am looking forward to us really being a national model as to how cities can shore themselves up and be stronger because of it.
Do you know if it was a remote breach or a physical breach? They were actually at a terminal or through the internet?
I am going to assume it is a remote breach. I guess by your question, you're asking was someone physically inside of City Hall? I think we're pretty clear that was not the case. Well, we've seen them attack cities. We've seen them attack hospitals. I mean, who can understand why anybody does what they do? I can't answer that. Maybe that's the reason they're asking for 51,000 and not 551,000, because we are a city. But I can tell you that we certainly are not the first city that has faced this issue, and I think it really is a test of our national security. And I unfortunately don't think that we will be the last to face this. All right. Thank you.